What's up, everybody? Welcome to the R6 Analyst Retirement Home. I'm sorry, I had to do that. We'll talk about that. That's an inside joke. You guys will get that in a bit. I'm sure Jess will talk about that a little bit. And by the way, I don't think that Jess is actually retired. I think that you guys will hear about that in a bit. But back with another episode of the Logic Bomb Podcast. Lots to talk about today. Season got delayed. We thought we would be making this episode after playing the season for a couple of days. Turns out they pushed it back to next week. I guess maybe let's just go into that. Maybe that's a good place to start. Let's just, it was a bit weird because the community was, didn't get any kind of communication from them for a while. There's some different speculation as to why. What did you guys think about that whole situation?
It's such a hard thing to comment on because I'm not a marketing specialist. I've never been trained in marketing. I hate to have opinions on things that I'm not trained in to begin with. So it's always difficult for me to come out and say, well, they should have done this, they should have done that. I would have assumed, and this is making an assumption, that even though other companies, went essentially, went dark for the time, they still had communication about the fact that they were going dark and that things would not be operating as usual. So there was at least a little bit of a warning that we should not expect usual operations, that, as a result of what was going on, and that, further discussions would happen down the track. Now, I don't know if things run differently in different companies. Obviously they do, but I would like to think that if another company is capable of warning their player base and, company and everyone else and players and everything like that, then maybe all companies have the precedence to do that. That's just an assumption, of course, though.
What made us convinced that it was the 8th? Did we have more than the stuff from the season pass on console? Was there any official statement?
What was it that Pingu had? Pingu had a blog post.
One promotion picture.
Yeah.
When you buy the year pass, but it
shows you the text under it. Is that what that was?
It does. I can't remember if it says that the season goes live or if that you unlock the skins that day.
No, so it says, so it said on March there. I'll get it back up so that we can, I might even be able to bring it up on the stream.
But either way, it's very important that we all understand that it's always only a target date.
Sure.
Right? It has always been like that since forever, and the three of us should know better than anyone. There are things that can go sideways either way, whether it's targeted for, let's say they actually plan on having it the 8th. I don't know, because there was no true official statement saying that it was going to come out the 8th, right? This is probably one of the first times where they've let us know this long in advance with the 15th. They don't normally give you a set date that long in advance, do they? We expect test server to run for 3 weeks.
I think if it wouldn't have been for the season pass, which the season pass only happens once a year, and
year pass,
if it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't have had even that date. So I think that what you're saying there is correct, in that we don't normally have that to kind of hold up and be like, hey, you said it was coming at this date. So my problem isn't that it was pushed back to the 15th or that it came out on the 15th. There was one tweet from February 23rd, and yes, okay, the Ukraine situation, I understand them wanting to go quiet with that. I honestly do, but I think that a simple tweet or something like, hey guys, with what's going on in the world, we want to keep our comms to a minimum. We know it's a busy time with, you're looking forward to the new season. We'll update you as soon as we have some information for you. And that would have gone a long way.
No, I agree, but why are we this extreme about it this season and not last season and the season before and the season before? Because I feel like, isn't this just how Siege normally releases stuff?
It is.
And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Sure, but we should kind of be ready for that at some point. We get test server for 3 weeks and we don't really know when it comes. The shitty thing was they removed test server before. So teams that had scrims planned and stuff were struggling a bit. Then again, it's such a small portion of the player base. It sucks for the teams that need to scrim, right? There's still a tiny portion of the player base. I just thought it was a bit extreme how everyone was almost demanding that it had to come out that day, when there was no real, there was no proper reveal season is coming out the 8th. right? There was some screenshots and some promotional stuff on Xbox.
There we
and
go.
PlayStation,
This was
I
the
think.
blog post. It was a news blog post from
Yeah.
Ubisoft that said Rainbow Six Siege announced Demon Vale, its first year of season 7, launching on March the 8th.
Yeah.
So they did do a blog post, which is they made themselves their own enemy at that point.
Yeah, sure, but I poor intern that wrote that, because it's probably not been triple double mega check, and I also don't think that sure, Ukraine stuff has put a bit of a damper on all FPS related stuff, but did people completely forget that for like 2 days everything Ubisoft was down? Like everything. It wasn't just Siege servers, it was Far Cry, it was Assassin's Creed, like everything was down. Is no one like adding 2 and 2 together here and thinking maybe something was like up for those 2 days, making it difficult to release, right?
For sure. I think that's a very good possibility. To me, looking at it, I was like, something's up. Something is, because a lot of people were saying, no, they do this every season. And I fully agree, and that's a conversation for another time, if whatever, that yes, the marketing for new season releases could be different. But it's not normal to see the Siege Twitter go 2 weeks with one tweet in the midst of a test server and a new season rollout. That's not normal. Okay, you can say that they don't announce it.
100%. I think that is 100% just Ukraine related. I think that's just out of respect. All social media managers I know for any big FPS game are like 100% just, it's just quiet. It's just blackout, right? But that doesn't mean that there couldn't be well, it is. Like, they were tweeting
I know. I was just like, I worked Valorant for the past couple of weeks. Like, I flew to Berlin and stuff like that, and it was communicated differently to us. So I'm not sure if like maybe other FPSs are doing. That's why I said I was confused, because like some FPS were doing this, some were doing that.
99% of FPSs, like all it takes is to open Twitter and then scroll through like how much they've communicated in the past 2 weeks compared to before.
Sure.
There is a courtesy thing and a respect thing right now where they just communicate less. We can't demand more communication when the whole point is to communicate less. It's shitty the way they release seasons, but it was shitty last time as well.
Yeah.
And the time before. But we also gotta admit that every single season we have people making up their own stories about when things are gonna release, and they never know.
Yeah.
Like, heck, I don't think I've ever actually known a release date in advance, and we have the ability to ask and get some info that other people can't. And I've never known like 110% what day something goes live. It's always only ever been a target, right?
I mean, it was also a bit weird. Eric Pope, who is the community manager, community developer. He's one of the comm devs. He resigned, quit. That day,
weird,
that day.
Yeah,
I mean, it was in that like when I looked at everything, I was like, something's weird here. Like, but
it was out of the blue as well, because didn't he only sign on like, I want to say like a year ago max? Because I remember him signing on and thinking to myself, okay, because he's replacing the fact that they had that empty spot for so long. And then I was like, oh, this is great. He's good to talk to and he's very easy to communicate with. And I was like, then all of a sudden just out of nowhere. And I was like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I obviously don't know the ins and outs, but I would hate to speculate, but that just seemed very abrupt.
Yeah, it was a weird announcement as well. It's like,
yeah.
It was kind of like, all right, peace, and I was like,
I'm done, out.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I've heard this before from people in your exact position. Now, don't like to correlate things without evidence, but if everyone who's in your position always goes, peace, I'm out of here, then what's wrong?
I mean, I think that's a tough job. I really do. The internet kind of sucks sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know that.
About it. You only have to deal with your angry fans.
Right.
They have to deal with all of them.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. There is no way.
Yeah.
No. I'd get fired within an hour.
Yeah.
I would take the job if they nerf Valk. That would be my condition. Which
fair enough.
Yeah,
if they bring Blackbeard and Monty back to, then I'll take it as well.
You could. I'll take all the internet abuse. What else? What else other than I guess for people watching, yes, the season's supposed to be coming out on the 15th now. That they have actually set that as the date. And that means basically 3 weeks of a test server. Again, it's not like that's never happened before. And I'm excited for the new season. A nice touch on their end was that they brought the test server back so the pros could continue scrimming on it. And
and fast.
Yeah, they did that. That was huge from them. And that actually might be a good segue into some pro talk here, because there's been some really weird roster things. Second place at SI apparently gets you cut. I don't. What did you guys think in there?
No, so I'm pretty sure I can. I mean, don't talk about it in public if you don't want people to know. But essentially, their manager. I took one of the shuttles back with him after Sweden, back to the airport and everything like that. And he was in a public car we were asking public questions about the team and everything like that. And I said, look, last time I judged a coach, I got ripped by the community for years. I hate to be the person that points it out, but what's the background of the new coach? He never took a timeout there. He didn't seem to help the team when they were losing, consecutive rounds. I think I counted 2 timeouts and one of them was taken by the player. So I was like, is there a reason that he's not very, integrated and stuff? And he turns to me, and, Russian people are very upfront for the most part. And he goes, we're really unhappy with the performance there. That was unacceptable. And I was like, oh, well, that's none of my business. But, that's a shame that the new coach isn't fitting the way that you would want. And he goes, yeah, I think we should bring Razor back. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you have some kind of solution already figured out. That's no problems. And then for Joysticks to then say on his stream, oh, well, they're going to bring back the coach and everything. And we don't want that, which I already knew they had problems with that with Razor before. I didn't know the depth of it. I'm not going to speculate. But I make the assumption that they've turned around and said, we don't want to do this. If you're going to impose this on us, then we don't want to play for you. Empire's gone, okay. And then they've gone, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not really what we thought would happen. So I don't know if there's more, but that's how it's.
I mean, at the end of the day, I frankly don't care at all if people get booted or moved off a team. It's business and it's tough. The thing that sucks and the thing that basically makes Empire the villain here is that all of this buyout bullshit teams have, it makes sense during a season. That I can't, you have transfer windows and I can't just come and poach people left and right. But to more or less plan this and not just release them, no one's going to come buy them out in the middle of everything if you don't make it public. No one's going to know they can buy them, right?
At least they got pressured into it. So
yeah, now you leave them in this sick limbo where a team can't do anything and the players are out of competition for long enough that it often matters.
Anything beyond 2 weeks is crippling.
Yeah. And sure, they have legacy and they're known and any team would probably be happy to pick them up and try again, but you're so far behind all of a sudden. But I think that leads more into how esport contracts are, and I'm fairly vocal about that. I think probably 1 in 10 people ever actually get someone that can read a contract to check it. Because I know about 2 players ever who actually had their contracts checked by people who know what they're doing.
It's so easy to just email it, pay the fee, that shit's done.
Yeah, sure, it's $1,500 to get it checked by someone who knows what they're doing, but who cares? It's you trade this for it. There is no way in hell anyone should ever say yes to contracts that force you into situations like these. The same with IP and stuff like that, where they own your brand after you leave the org. Stuff like that is just predatory and insane.
Let me just make sure everybody's on the same page here. What we're talking about is Empire dropped 4 of their 5 players after being second place at Invite. And the insight there from Jess was very enlightening for me. I wasn't aware of that, and that definitely gives me a little bit of a different picture. And what I think Zeronic's saying there is that basically those drop players are in an under contract still with Empire. They're not going to be able to go to a new org right now unless they get bought out. Correct? Is that the situation?
They changed it in the past 8 hours. Public pressure. Wow, look what it does. So they did an announcement. There's a tweet. You guys can all go to Team Empire's Twitter. And it says, and I will verbatim it so that I, do the right thing here. What is their app, by the way? Is it Team Empire? Oh, there we go. Team_Empire. My apologies. You think you can get normal Team Empire, but okay. It's official. Joystick, Shepard, Dan, and Always are free agents now. This happened 2 hours ago. We would like to thank them for the contribution to world record winning streak. This quartet blessed us with epic highlights and memorable performances, an impressive amount of trophies. Best of luck. And then it's a little, squad photo of them saying, thanks for everything, boys. And then, as you can imagine, just like in the comment section of a Facebook post, which we all know the 40-year-olds live inside of, the very first comment is Doki going, Lamau. So
the problem with that announcement is that it's fine they go out and say, okay, they're free agents now. Hoop-de-doo, great. Well, you do it right after transfer close.
They cannot do anything.
Like, it's absolutely useless.
Oh, that's brutal.
You could be the biggest orc with the most money and you'd be a massive fool to buy them right now.
You can't do anything. They just sit there.
Yeah. Sure. I guess you could make a predatory contract that makes sure that they have to play for you by the time that they can, and then you just pay them a meh salary until then, right?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I understand that when any kind of competition starts, everyone's just happy to wear a jersey. Like, we did the same when the first contract we signed. We were just happy that we got a jersey and we saw a mouse and keyboard as payment, right? We were like, wow. And they're going to pay for us to go to events. And then you realize that, oh, wait, every single event you'd ever want to actually go to is always paid by the event holder.
Yeah.
It's never going to cost the orc any money. But you get a mouse and keyboard, maybe a mouse pad. You're really lucky you get a t-shirt with your name on, right? That's worth signing your ass away to for a year or something. And people never read or don't understand what it is they actually sign to. So I hope things are going to change a bit and players are going to demand a bit more on contracts, because the orcs kind of need the players to, like, at some point you're going to need some of the good players. If all the good players start actually demanding decent contracts, then it's going to be a lot of orcs that are going to be a bit fucked.
This happens in every industry. You got enough people who are willing to take friggin' scraps, or the rest of you who want fair pay, get fucked. Don't worry, we all know.
Have we been there?
I don't know, Saronic. Have we been there?
So, super hot take here. All right. And you guys tell me how wrong I am. But I think you can make an argument that Team Empire has had the longest consistently S-tier team run of any in Rainbow Six Siege's history. Now, granted, G2's run was more dominant, obviously, and I'm not comparing it to that, but I'm saying when you think about it, I mean, there was a little slump there, but it was pretty short for Empire, and beyond that, they've spent a long time, maybe 3.5 years as like one of the best teams in the world, and I don't think we've really seen a team that's held that mantle for that long. That's what's really surprising to me out of all this. Yes, second place at SI is shocking. I think that they were pretty high up there at the Sweden major too, weren't they? Were they second place there?
I can't remember.
Sweden, no.
They've done good for forever.
Anyway, they're one of the most consistent teams for a long period of time. So that's what was so shocking here. But again, that insight that paints a whole different picture of it. What other?
What can you do? Like, what I think if you're the players and you are adamant you shouldn't have that coach, also let us not forget that a lot of the Russian players are playing for crappy salary, and this is factual, seeing the numbers, this is awful kind of payment, so I feel very bad for them. Obviously, when you need a Russian org or whatever, you don't need a Russian org, but, someone that you can have a team where you can speak Russian, etc., that limits you considerably. But, I mean, I had heard rumors that they hadn't been paid for months back in Sweden. You know what I mean? This is back in Sweden, or was this Mexico? Sorry, Mexico before Sweden.
Is that salary or is that winnings?
Salary.
Okay, because winnings is very common, right? To be like months and months and months back, but
yeah. So that's
if
what I
salary
had
is
heard.
missing.
Yeah,
but there's some things there, because if there was salary missing, Why didn't they just leave? It's contract breach.
I know.
You can just leave.
Again, sometimes it takes people a long time to leave. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel bad for the players that they're stuck in that situation. I don't feel bad for anyone being dropped. I don't care about that. The fact that you only release them and make this public after transfers closed is just pity and it's shitty.
Yeah.
I think they'll land on their feet though after this period.
Yeah,
I really do. I think there is one challenge there in that they common Russian, right? The 4 of them do common Russian, and so are they going to be able to find a 5th player that they can calm with? You know, that could add some complexity to it, but I have no doubt. I mean, any org out there right now, I mean, there's very few orgs out there that you wouldn't say picking up those 4 players wouldn't be an upgrade. And I don't mean to say that, to put anybody down by saying that. It's just a fact. So I think they'll land on their feet.
Game,
yeah.
Right?
There's
nothing wrong with saying that they will upgrade another team.
Let me throw this out there too. I feel really bad for the Empire players that got picked up because they just got their dream job, something that they've been working for so long. They have nothing to do with this decision and what went into this, and they're coming in under really tough circumstances. So I wish them the best. I honestly do. I wish those players the best, and I hope that they do well and can.
Yeah, and people that shit on them for that, like the players didn't do anything. They said yes to a job. You're a fool if you're blaming the players that took over. It's business.
What do you want the players to do? Like. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And everyone's going to forget. Like, in a month, no one's going to remember. They're just going to look, oh, this is the new lineup, right? People forget this stuff. They're angry for 2 days, and then, meh.
I mean,
then you have, like, probably, 2 bitter people sticking around.
It's important to obviously have the conversation about who owns the spot, because I know that's been a bit of a discourse at the moment about, are we semi or pseudo-franchised? Are we, like, what really is it? Obviously, my biggest thing is that and I was just getting up the Liquipedia, hence the flashbang in my eyes now, and looking at the fact that and I think if you've played Pro League, you count as like one of the 3 out of 5 or something like that. There's like a rule where like if you've already played Pro League in the past however long, you get to like do it. So the only chance for Team Empire is to wait out stage 1, and either Virtus Pro buys them out and makes huge roster swaps after already obviously having multiple different players now. Like, I don't know what the option would be, but the only other org that could theoretically implement them into their roster that is currently in tier 1 is the only other organization that has the capacity to common Russian, which is Virtus Pro, who has already made changes inside contracts with new players. Of which Smash by Ash, for example, is one of the big ones from Russian Major League, back in the Windstrike days, stuff like that. Like, these are players that should do well after a bit of time anyway. So if VP doesn't pick them, then they have to play in Russian Major League, which is a very strong region to begin with anyway. Then they get knocked down because they don't have salaries or they can't work it full time or whatever it is. Like, I foresee this being a long-term, very vicious problem for those boys. And I don't think it's going to be an easy fix unless that other org implements some of the players.
And you need to play under an organization of a certain size if you want to be in Pro League. Like, you can't just go in there as 5 dudes and perform well. You need a flag.
Yep.
Or a banner or logo, whatever you want to call it. Like,
as far as I heard, you had to be under an org. That's what
you have to.
Physically, yeah.
They're like, you lose your spot if you're not under an org. You can't self-represent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, then you got to make an actual company and make that into an org, and it's not just having a Twitter account.
I mean, if you're not reading contracts, what's your success?
Yeah, exactly.
Right there?
You're not running your own org.
So I foresee it being very bad. I foresee maybe Joystick, for example, being implemented into the VP roster. I think the rest lose out to the famous quality that Joystick probably has, and the kind of quality he can bring, especially on LAN. And I think the rest are severely going to lose out. Like I feel horrific for them.
That's awful.
Without that transfer period that they would have had initially, which could have sparked some VP talks, it's gone.
Are there any other major roster moves that you guys want to go over? There was some stuff in NA.
With Uno?
Where did he end up?
Uno in Heroic.
Okay.
They took over the Kwana roster, and
Which was such a surprise to me. I thought Kavana was like fully invested in Siege. No?
I
Am
think
I
Heroic came with the
Ah, okay.
and went, yo,
Okay.
you
We
want
have
to
your
trade?
roster.
Yeah.
Why did they not take X5? Did they just see it? Obviously, there's a difference in value of the teams, even just outside in. But I mean,
I think
is there a reason?
Heroic is their office is based in Norway. Mr.
Yeah.
Office, Norwegian, whole team
Yeah.
fits kind of well into the whole. It's easy to
Yeah.
work with. They're easy to make content with.
Yeah, true.
Distance,
True.
everything. It's without a doubt the team that makes the most sense for them to pick up. Just if they want to brand it, and it seems like they want to brand because holy smokes, that is one of the sickest announcements we've seen in a long
That
time.
was really well done.
Yeah, that was actually super good. So I think it makes sense, but there's no way it was cheap.
Yeah.
Then what about X Vitality?
Where did they end up? Because we don't know yet. Okay, but they did end up
Yeah,
somewhere.
there hasn't been anything yet, has there?
So
Okay.
what does that mean for the league? I didn't want to like comment on
I gotcha.
social media because I was like, I don't want to like cause like people to spread rumors under the tweet and everything because like none of us know. There is no way anyone has a solidified idea as to what's happening. But I haven't, like, usually I hear whispers about like, oh, this org is snapping around to pick him up, or talks have gone on. I've heard nothing. Now, of course, maybe that scene, not really my crew and not really my language, of course. So maybe I haven't heard whispers, but I'm just sitting here waiting for some kind of announcement to see what happens.
There's a lot of unanswered things in Siege lately. That the whole reveal season thing.
Yep.
The drama around SI with BDS and a player not being able to play, and then everyone, you'll all understand when we tell you, and still nothing.
Yeah. Unsolved Siege mysteries.
I reckon they were not told to be quiet, but they were suggested.
I am pretty sure they were told to not say anything because otherwise they would have. You're not that emotional on Twitter and then all of a sudden stop talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think stuff like that puts everything in a bad light because now it's open for speculation for everyone.
Yeah.
Just fucking own up to it. Say whatever happened. I don't care what it is. Just own up to it so we can move on so everyone knows what's up. Because there's been a lot of dirt in like any esport history. And players get outed like years down for having done dumb shit when they were younger and stuff. Like, I don't care what it is. Just get it out there so it doesn't turn into like 9 million weird takes on what possibly could have happened and what didn't, right?
From what I heard, it was not Rafal's fault.
No,
from what I was told, yeah. So that's the bad part.
Public,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you all of a sudden get Mirage suspended, held out, whatever we want to call it, from playing comp, that's a pretty big thing. And I think if you are like truly, if the entire team is in good faith there, I think they just say it.
I am speculating that it's not Ubi who's withholding them, like suggesting that. I actually think it's an organizational thing.
It might be.
I think the organization goes, no, we don't want that kind of press. Just let it go.
Yeah,
could easily be. But now they're gonna live with everyone like I have seen weird takes.
Yep.
Right. And there are people that like 100% believe this, and it'll come out at some point. Someone's gonna talk. They always do. And it's gonna come out.
I hope so.
Get ahead of it.
It'll be interesting to see, what actually happened there, because that was weird. I agree with you, Zeronic.
Everyone's forgotten about it, right?
That was bizarre. Do you guys want to talk about the map pool changes? Are you guys familiar with what is in and out and all that stuff?
Actually,
we got a 9 map pool, guys. Oh my god. Look at it. I'm gonna put it up on my stream. Can I do this? I'm stupid. I'm gonna save the image. Save image. There we go. And I'm literally gonna put the image smack bang in the middle of the screen. Here we go.
I can read it out here as well.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
For the audio only.
Map
So,
pool.
theme park border. Skyscraper, Cafe, Bank, Clubhouse, Chalet, Villa, and minus Coastline.
Okay. So the first thing my mind goes to, I was hoping that Outback was going to make it in.
Yeah. I agree.
Skyscraper is not the play in my opinion. Nor Oregon could have been swapped out for Outback as well. I think if you wanted Skyscraper and Sweet, I want to see it competitively. But I am so sick to death of seeing Borrigan. Like,
I don't care too much what maps are being removed. I think it's a shame that they removed Coastline just because.
Yeah.
Coastline is I had the same take on CS. I think Newt was an interesting map because it was very, very different to every other map.
Yep.
Coastline was interesting because it was a frag heavy map that some teams could really favor, and I don't know exactly. Maybe you can share some light on this, but it used to be that teams voted on maps.
They still do.
And yes, okay. So if that's the case, and this is a team decision that Coastline is not there, I think that solidifies the reason why teams should never have a take in what
Thank you very much. I'm glad you are mirroring my opinion.
I mean, it's just a competitive bias, right? All the teams that don't like the monkey play style of frag heavy fast play are going to vote against Coastline.
Yep.
Why? Why do they get to do that? They're like, even if there's just one team that's going to be master at that map, they should be allowed to, and you should be fearing that team and have to ban it against that team.
Yeah.
That's why I'd like to see, Outback, Favela. Well, I just want to see new maps because I want to see teams actually come up with something new instead of having the same boring setup on Cafe Top Floor, where if I change the name on every player, I could 100% convince everyone that it was a different team playing it because you can't tell. There's no personality to it. There's no style.
Coastline started getting a personality again with the changes. In my opinion, there was a much more viability to playing power positions like VIP, which you never had the option of playing before. If you want to play VIP, you're going to get effed up. Like that window was you couldn't do anything. Like it was gone. As people are like, oh, now I get to play VIP and maybe I can play some verticals. Maybe I'll play some long angles. I mean, there was things opening up and different strats being used that I hadn't seen before. Obviously, newish map, updates. So, okay. But I would have liked to seen Coastline stay in for another season, especially after you do changes to a map. It seems ridiculous to then instantly remove it straight after. And then
also, just for the rest of us, we get to learn to play it.
I mean, people love to watch new stuff. This is why we shouldn't have the quarantine period on the ops anymore. This is there's so much that we are blue balling the audience with that at some point it's just stale as fuck.
Yeah. And I think from a spectator view, Coastline, the pacing of Coastline rounds were more enjoyable to watch, in my opinion. It just felt like there was more action throughout the entire round on that map. Maybe that's just my own perception, but that's how I felt. So that one really surprised me. The one thing I will say, Theme Park wasn't, after Theme Park got reworked, it was in for a while and then it was removed. It almost feels like a new map getting added in because of the fact that it wasn't in for that long and it's been out for a while. Skyscraper, we haven't seen playing competitively yet. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I'm really curious to see that. That's the one I'm the most curious about right now. Because for me personally, I don't, obviously Skyscraper changed a good bit, but I still feel like I lean towards the old tendencies from before the rework and that's on me. You know what I mean? That's 100% on me. So I can't wait to watch them play Skyscraper personally. That's the one that jumps out to me.
Skyscraper is going to be weird on the top floor ones because the amount of repel and the lack of platforms you can be on with cover in between. Because that was kind of the problem with the other one. If you just had a lot of half walls on the outside balcony, you're not going to have all of these gamble runouts where a round is decided by who ends up hitting their shot on a big chance. And that kind of kills. It's the same on Cafe. If you jump out the window, it doesn't happen often, but if you get two people, there's no hype in it. You just won the round by trading yourself for two, jumping out a window. And you're sitting there waiting for that to happen, and it doesn't build the same hype as fast rounds and Coastline, for example.
This is why Favela has an issue. It's why Old Outback had an issue. Map design, especially from a competitive attacking perspective, and I did a lot of study into this back when people were complaining about maps, and I was like, you know what, how do they do it in all games? Like, what's laning mean? What's this? So I did a bunch of research, and they're right. Accessibility into the map as an attacker in our game, for example, is oftentimes, if you limit it to either a window hop or a kill hold doorway, it is an instant turn off for someone wanting to play that map. If you are siphoning them into lack of entrances inside the map, it can be very difficult for individuals to enjoy the map, which I have found on Old Outback. Skyscraper, I always find myself entering through like museum, office, and stuff like that as a safety precaution, you know, so it seems difficult without...
What do you take from other games, though, in terms of, like, what do you extrapolate from that to... in terms of map design? Because, like, laning in other maps has nothing to do with Siege.
No, so just map design. So when I researched like map design, how they do it in FPS games and how it works for TAC and where Search and Destroy, for example, and how things have worked in especially bomb-related games, I was like, what is the map meant to look like? Like, what is the psychology behind it? Why do they design it certain ways? And why does some maps work better than others? And so accessibility to the map and entrances for sites is important.
Yeah, like that's super simple in stuff like Valorant and CS, because as long as you follow the old 3 lane and then you might make a short in between some of the lanes, then you just block off cover based on timings of spawn, and then the map design is fairly simple to get a map that will almost run the same as all other maps no matter what you do to it. I think the problem in Siege is the distance you can be from the building. It's every map where you're forced to be up against a wall. So if you have to be on a balcony to do stuff, things become difficult.
Yes. If you have to be in a window repel to do stuff.
Yeah. But at least on the repel, the other guy has to jump out to do something against you, right? There's no C4 anything can land on. There's no wall where you have to interact with. Any interaction we have where there is, like, let's say a couple meters of a catwalk or balcony or something outside on a map, if that's your main way to get to site, I think that site fails instantly in comp. And it's also not that fun to watch because people clump up, and the access to and from that area is very time consuming. If you want to rotate off, if you want to vault off, you have to rappel up, right?
And if you want to rotate off, you have to risk yourself, because on Skyscraper, I have to fucking rappel, dude. I have nowhere else to go. Once I rappel in to Office Balk and I go to that window, I have like 2 options. If you remove the wall, because that's such a danger position there to enter, if you just have the double wall on the side towards office or whatever it's called, the window, and then the door that goes on the run out door, then realistically, my only way out is to rappel. Now, by the time I've hooked my, grapple up, I've turned my body around and go for the rappel, someone's already either outside a window, they know I'm rotating because the sound cue is so intensely obvious. I mean, for me, Skyscraper feels very difficult to want to love, and why I personally ban it a lot, which doesn't help me learn it. I feel like I still know it from the old iteration though, and I could do a bunch of callouts, but I get rid of it because I feel like the moment I get on attack, I am limited in my ability to be creative, to be objective based. How many times do you get a plant down on Skyscraper top floor? Like, me personally, I'm struggling to friggin' make it into T. I can't, unless I swing in to karaoke, I am not getting a plant down, boys. Like, it is not happening. I get Geisha open maybe, and that's it.
Compare that wall office on Skyscraper to bedroom on Outback. So you have one door, you have a double wall on Skyscraper, but yet it is so much harder to cover that. And you have a window below that they could jump out of, right? On Outback, you have a window on the side facing the stairs. You have another window in the bathroom. You have your double wall. You have your drone hole. You have 2 windows below. You have the garage they can run out of. And yet that wall is simpler. Just because you have a bigger platform. You have more movement. You're not, like, if I peek out, I have to worry about an area like this. Whereas on Skyscraper, I jump out and I can just go like, and I'm going to hit something.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought about that.
That's what I hate about it.
Yeah.
What about the border rework? How do you see that playing out? I've heard a lot of people saying that they're not real excited. It's they don't feel like
Bathroom's going to be fun to watch. That's it. Like, I just want to see bathroom.
Gotcha.
Everything else is going to be the same then.
Because we'd never really seen bathroom before it done without sort of the vertical diagonal angle, and then everyone kind of knew what that strat was, and then like that was sort of it. So I'm excited to see it as well. I think it's going to be a awful job to try and hold the hatch above should you do that roam hatch hold above. Thank God for the triple wall, and you can set your ADSs up for the nade bounce and everything like that, yada yada, but it's going to play out so similarly. So I'm obviously, maybe with my PTSD of Nora Rengo absolutely wiping the floor with us on that map, maybe I'm not excited for that to come back in a rotation, but that's one I just don't care. I'm like,
I just don't think any sites but bathroom are not really going to change. They play so similar.
Do bad memories on maps linger like that? I mean, you both have experience in the comp scene. Is that a thing? Like,
I don't like Bank.
Because you got destroyed on it one time, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
We lost the final on Bank.
Okay.
Yeah, that was not good.
And that feeling still lingers when you see Bank.
I ban Valkyrie every time I play a border in ranked because of Walker. And I would never not ban Valkyrie even if she is nerfed. I don't know why. People don't barely throw cams outside anymore, which you'll be happy to know. So I don't know why I'm so scared, but no. So yes,
I'm a bit of a freak though. The more I hate a map, the more I want to play it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to grind through that until I stop disliking something.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be rough. Like there's one map I continuously always ban in ranked, and that's Cafe. And it's not because I don't like the map. I just don't like the way people play it. It's so boring in ranked. It's just jump out of windows over and over and over again. When you're on defense, either you jump out the window or you're the anchor. That's your two options.
Mm-hmm.
Every round, and it gets boring. And on attack, I either wait for people to jump out and get some free kills and then are late on site, or I go on site and kill the one or two support players, and the rest are running around on the map.
Well, we're getting a new map this season.
I know.
How likely would you say that it is that, I mean, because of when it's coming mid-season, there's no chance that it goes directly into comp. How likely is it that at the first opportunity available, it goes into comp?
I
Very
haven't
unlikely.
seen anything about it. Have you?
No.
I saw that like quick fly through where it had the rug on it.
They used the word competitive. When in describing it, they did use the word competitive. I've heard it.
All maps are competitive, right? Like, or should be.
No, we had casual reworks this year.
That's true. They call them casual reworks.
When they throw that word on, man, that's a way to get away with doing stuff.
I was gonna say it's a cop out. Yeah.
Well, I remember it with Villa. With Villa, I do remember the messaging with Villa being a little bit different in the sense that they were like, listen, this is a competitive map. This is the most competitive map we've ever made. It's going, they were like, we're just going straight in, and it did. Mm-hmm. Villa's the only map that ever just went straight in that I remember.
With all respect to, because Jeremy's going to be watching this and he's also going to send me a DM and be angry at me.
Okay.
There is no way that you can ever predict how the map is actually going to play out.
I agree.
Like, you can set up and have the plans of, okay, if we make buffer rooms, we know that over time, they're most likely going to develop like this and this and this. But there's also a chance that community just decides that this is the way we want to play it, even though it might not be the best. And it gets super favored in one direction or another. And I think a lot of stuff with how a map is going to be seen is if you truly tell people this one is made for competitive, we've gone through it with comp players and this and it's made on this ethos. It's a lot easier to sell to people to actually be a comp map as well. Instead of, if you say it's a casual rework, we will use it as an excuse for why it's not competitive, right? Well, we will bring that up in conversation and say, oh, no, that map can't be in Pro League because it was a casual map.
And that's what is predictable with it. I agree with you. You can't predict how the map's going to play out, but what you can predict is that if you don't put that map into comp, the map will not develop. It just won't.
You'll never learn how to play it.
And I think that's true. We've seen that in the history of Siege. If the map doesn't go into comp, like, we'll see what happens with Skyscraper here. Maybe, one stage in comp, everybody will be like, get Skyscraper out of here, it's awful. Or maybe the map will actually develop and it'll keep going, and now we'll see it banned less and ranked, and it'll trickle down. That would not surprise me at all if that happened.
And it's always the same way. You get a map in, we as the entire community think that a certain site is the best, it is never the one that we predict.
Right.
Ever. Like, we're always wrong, right? Chalet comes in, most people were playing bottom or top 4, and then boom, bar.
Bar, yeah.
And then you start seeing certain teams have like insane rates on kitchen dining. We're so bad at predicting this before we start competing against others, because we have our vision of it, but we're not thinking about how the other team is going to break everything we do, right?
Yeah.
And they need to start throwing everything into comp. Just stop making new maps if we don't get them in there, because like the rest of us need to learn how to play them as well, and we do that by seeing people better than us do it well.
I want to take a moment to redirect us. Now, I know you guys can't see what I'm doing on my stream, but I have popped up an image for everyone. It's a very important image because it's a very important day. It's a very important day for a certain man who has a beautiful smile. That's why I've covered my face and not his. Let me put his charm right next to his face there. Look.
All I'm saying is I've subbed over already, and if other people haven't, they should, right?
So
I'll have to edit this in.
Money.
Yeah, so you can see on at least my screen, and I'm sure Flanked will edit this in very, very perfectly, that right up the top left is a beautiful charm. It looks like a G, it looks like an F. It might stand for Get Flanked. And finally, after getting somehow a commendation first and a charm second, which should go the other way around, but the man loves to skip steps, so here we are. He finally gets his charm. Now, Zronik and I have already had ours, and he finally gets to join the charm club. So when you said this was the Analyst retirement, this is actually the charm club. Welcome, Flanked.
Is it like Infinity Stones, we can put them together, and then we get a Logic Bomb charm as well?
Oh, yes, yes. If your squad runs all 3 charms at once in the squad, then it's unbeatable. Like you won't lose.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Plus 5 Elo, plus 5 bitterness, and a
plus
little
5
bit extra.
bitches. No, sorry, my bad. I thought that's how my charm worked.
Shabazz is gonna have 3 accounts now.
Oh man, well thanks for mentioning that, Jess, and awesome to join you all in having charms. It's a dream come true. I mean, as you guys can attest, my logo, something that represents me is in the game that I love. How cool is that? So
it's really weird, right? Like it's
so
really weird
to
looking
see
in.
it too.
Yeah,
weird. You're gonna see it. The thing that really got me was when I was in a
shoot you
random
with it.
game. Yeah, well, not even just that. Like, I'll be in a game, and like for the first time, someone on my team, I spoke, and my accent's very obvious. So even if I use barcode accounts, I'm outed instantly. And they go, "Jess, is that you?" And I was playing Kitchen on Cafe. I remember it very clearly. And they walked over me and said, "Oh my God, I love your charm. I know you don't know who I am, but I got your charm." And I looked down at their gun, them standing right in front of me. And I went, this random person who I don't know has come into my stream, got my charm, is standing in front of me, doesn't know they would be queued with me ever in their life, and just has the charm automatically on their gun. And I was like, what do you say? Do you say thank you? Do you cry? Like, I don't know what the appropriate reaction is. So like for me, that's when it hit, man. When you see someone randomly wearing it, that's when you're like, oh my God. Like,
first time I noticed
legit.
mine, I got shot by someone, and
No.
I might have said, "You little shit." And then I see the charm on the gun and I go, "Oh, okay, no, you're cool."
Well,
no.
That's what everybody's telling me, that they're gonna equip it on Valk MPX and just run out nonstop of it. So
yeah, I'm probably doing that as well. It's going on my
Actually,
back.
that's a great. Yep, I'm writing that down.
Kill me with Valk MPX when it. Yeah. That's gonna happen. But no, I think let's take an opportunity to each brag on ourselves, because Zronik got a really cool new sponsor this week. Jess, you've had a couple of huge announcements.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about those, as well as the R6 analyst retirement joke, and explain to people what's going on there? Like, guys, I guess here's we're really cool. The Logic Bomb podcast is making moves here. So
really, I mean, we don't usually have to say we're cool. We just generally are.
Right.
But Getflake likes to, say it, just if you didn't already notice that we're cool.
I have this
want to
one
hear
here.
about
Some of the world's top players, like Zronik top players.
I clipped it from the the game plan
Why did
promotion.
you cut my name out? Why'd you cut my name out?
Because it's
You
about
could-
me. It's
No,
about
you
me.
could have me in there too. Be like, oh yeah, JessGOAT. I know JessGOAT. Yeah, I know her. I want to hear about your sponsor first because I saw a tweet, but as you can imagine, my week has been crazy as well. So please explain.
Well, I'll do the super short because it's probably like super boring for everyone. I was looking for an audio company where I could be transparent about everything they do and that doesn't like promote weird things. 'Cause, like the whole when they promise you this and this and this and RGB and like I'm very against that. I just want shit that works that is backed up by some data. And a company in Denmark called Esports who used to work with Sennheiser to do all of Sennheiser's actual gaming stuff is now doing their own stuff. So they kind of split. But they have like I don't know how many years of experience making hearing aids. And seeing as I'm an old fuck, that makes good sense. But
Damn.
they have like millions of ear scans and stuff to base their whole audio thing on. So they had more data than I could ask for when like giving them questions, and they could answer things right away, which was impressive because normally they just tell you, well, they come with RGB.
Yeah.
And I want to know the
50
background
millimeter
stuff.
drivers, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, I learned more about audio in like 6 hours a day being at their studio, or not studio, their office than I've done the entire time of playing. Like we went into sound, or I was actually telling Flank before we went live that I went into like a soundproof room, like a proper soundproof room, like a 0 dB room.
That would be creepy, but go on.
I got dizzy the second I stepped in there. Your head can't, like your brain doesn't know balance anymore. You just get dizzy. It was insane to see all of that. The stuff that goes into like why a ear cup is designed exactly the way it is. It's not just to look cool. That's something you add on afterwards because there are pressure points. And if you don't have a little cutout in the top of your headband, you're more likely to get a headache if you measure it over hundreds of thousands of people. And like all of this data was super interesting. And then the fact that I was allowed to say everything, like I have a contract where there's no NDA. Like I can talk about everything. Of course, if they were trying to make a product or a product in the making, I can say what they're trying to make, but I can't like say the stats and stuff like that. But that was sick. And the fact that they were that transparent about it is really cool. Yeah, that's it.
That's cool, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
So
You need a headset, guys? I got the 20% off.
I was gonna say, how can we like, support you and your sponsory thing? Because that's the biggest gripe I have with people is they go, wow, sponsor, congratulations. And then I'm like,
Well-
yeah, but you can help your favorite streamer by liking sponsored tweets, retweeting sponsored tweets. Maybe if you really want a headset, you think about using their code if they have a code. I mean, like, these are all the things. Like,
Well, I'm happy to promote it because I don't get anything out of it. I purposely signed away my part of the like affiliation thing to just be a higher percent for the people buying it because getting like 5 or 10% off every headset is not going to matter. I'm not going to sell a million of them. But there'll be a code within. It's on my Discord right now, but it'll be up in the next week or so.
Okay.
If people want to, it's 20% off amps, headphones, microphones. Yeah, it's like
That's cool.
it's an
My
actual-
partner, you guys don't know, but we had to drill into the desk little like hook things that fold down, like headphone hooks, because she has 800 headphones in this apartment. We're swimming in them. So I guarantee you I will buy one of those with your code because she'd be like, I want to test it. She reviews technology. So yes, that is what's happening.
I'll hook you up.
Tell the company that Julia will be making a video on this soon.
We'll do it.
Yes. Trust. All right, cool.
All right, your turn. I don't like the bragging, even though I'm so humble and awesome.
I mean, we all deserve to celebrate our wins, which
Yeah.
I consider this very much to be a win for me. It took me a long time to admit that I was probably not the happiest in my job. Living in France, I wasn't very happy. That's not Ubisoft's fault by any means. You know what I mean? Their studio happens to be there. I don't speak French. You know what I mean? I don't have much of a life in France. So that's really, not technically my own fault, but just a happenstance of circumstance, and I was unhappy about the whole situation. And, I wanted to be paid a certain amount to live away from my family, live away from Julia and stuff like that. And there's all these things that come into it where I'm just like, I want to make sure that I'm happy and I'm healthy. and I wasn't sleeping well. So, I mean, in the end, I sort of turned around, and my agents, which I can be quite public about, my agents have always been on my back to make a decision about whether or not I'm working both games, how I plan on balancing that and giving up one event in this game to work an event in this game, and how that looks to both, TOs and stuff, and publishers. And I was like, look, I can't balance this forever. I was trying to balance like doing like masters and trying to do SI and majors, and I had no life. Like I would say that when I saw Julia, I had to give up time with her because I had to stream, because in the background, I'd actually signed with Talon many months before the announcement came out. So I actually had streaming obligations, even though I wasn't advertising them yet. And like, it was just a mess. It was a mess. And I felt like, I don't know, at some point you can't always focus on the money, but I wanted to be worth it too, if that's something you want. Player Base and Aim Lab said, we're keen to, like, if you're going to stream more, we're keen to get on board with you. Talon upgraded my contract and everything. I mean, everything was going in a direction of, if Ubisoft doesn't want to match and like we can't find a middle ground with both of us, I just have to cut ties. Like, this has to be where we both shake hands, we leave on good terms, like that's it kind of thing. Like, I can't be always worried about my visa every year. I can't be worried about trying to negotiate, my rate being a world championship, finalist analyst, like I can't always feel like I can't negotiate. So I was like, I got to get it out. Riot obviously has a lot of money, so it's easy for me to get paid very comfortably there. And I think that was just like a quality of life.
Or fairly.
I'm not saying those words.
I am.
Do not assume that what Alex is saying is my opinion.
No, that's mine.
I don't say that. So yes, whether it's fairly or otherwise, in the FPS scene, what I get paid with Valorant is going to allow me to live comfortably. They are very keen on me, and I'm very happy for that. So to leave EUL and APAC, it's like, you have like a first love. I don't know if you guys have been, and you're just like, I can't be with you anymore. Like, it's toxic relationship. I was like, I ought to go kind of thing. So I think it's good for both parties in the end. I think after a while, maybe resentment, I was too angsty on Twitter sometimes. Ubisoft was right to yell at me for some of the things I posted on Twitter and stuff like that. So I don't blame them. I think it's a mutually good thing in the end. So yeah.
I wouldn't say that there's any benefit for them to not have you. I don't think that. I don't see a world in which that exists. So you mentioned a couple of things there. Were you associated with Talon before the big announcement? Okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't tracking that.
Yeah.
But
no one was. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I wasn't missing anything there. So basically, with getting associated with an org, working with Talon and some other sponsorships, you're able to, not miss a beat financially, and have more flexibility as a content creator, and then still do work with Valorant. I mean, that sounds like a no-brainer to me. Like, obviously, I'm a Siege fan. I want you in Siege, but I just don't know how you can really make an argument against that.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, met with agents, because I pay tax out of my eyeballs because I got multiple continents upon which are looking at my tax every year, which is awful. Do make a company when you move to another continent, make it instantly in the other country so that you don't have to pay tax in two countries. You will love yourself and have more money as a result. But quick warning to everyone, should that ever occur.
Or have tax treaties. Denmark.
Or have Denmark, for whatever reason, in your back pocket. So I learned that the hard way. But, now having everything solidified and whatnot, I will make more money not working EUL and APAC North. It seems ridiculous to remove something from the equation and then make more. So I'm very lucky. I honestly, it's a breath of fresh air because I will be able to live at home more. I'm booked out. Literally within 18 hours of that announcement, I was booked out for the next 2 months. Like,
I'll second
so
that.
lucky.
I'll second that, just because I don't want to speak on behalf of you, but
Mm-hmm.
I ended up, when I stopped doing that, having more free time and still having the same income.
Yes.
To put that into perspective for people, the amount of time that actually goes into, because I don't think anyone realizes, outside of SI, it was not worth it for me to do anything. event-wise. It was not worth it. It was fun, it was enjoyable,
So
but
fun, yeah.
I'm not going to be paying bills by enjoying it. It had no impact money-wise to not do it anymore. So the time investment is not worth it at that point.
Which is such a shame because
Yeah.
I loved it, which is why I kept doing it.
Yeah, so did
I
I,
didn't
but
do it for the money. I didn't do it for. I wanted to. I didn't want to be underpaid. You know, I want to be valued as well, which is why you fight to be.
you
Paid
don't want to
what you're
lose
worth.
out on the potential other income that you could otherwise have had in that time, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that so many hours go into it, because it isn't just doing the event, it's keeping up with everything that happened from last event up to that event, and the story, taking notes, all of that, right? And that amount of time is not paid. It's when you're doing the event you're getting the money, right?
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, it's something that's awesome to do for a couple of years, and then unless it really kicks off for you and you become like one of the top dogs, it's just not worth continuing. Not if you want to have some sort of a life outside as well.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
It becomes too much. Like having family and then doing that at the same time, almost undoable. At least with streaming, most of it happens at your house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And I don't want to paint like a bad picture because like the
It was
job
awesome, right?
is awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Bertrand will probably never watch this, but he's been the new addition to the studio, and working with him, he pushed me to be like the best analyst I could be. You know what I mean? It really helped me learn the software for the telestration that we implement, everything. I left color casting to grow the desk into like, I wanted it to be the best desk in Siege in the world. Like Jack worked his ass off, Milos, you know what I mean? Like there was so much that went into it. And I think when you put so much of yourself, you invest so much of yourself into something, by not the end of it, but once you sort of get over that initial mountain of it, not only do you want to be like appreciated a certain amount for the effort to build that, you also then want to be able to like breathe a sigh of relief. Like we did it. You know what I mean? I was able to work with these people to create this awesome thing. It now works really smoothly. I'm loving my job and everything. And then if that doesn't feel good for you, that should be a really quick indicator that something's wrong. And that was for me. It was like, wow, I don't feel like I achieved anything. I still feel like I'm fighting. And I didn't want to do that. I want to back up. And maybe being with Valorant is allowing me to, I don't know, to learn a new game, to reach a new height, I mean, the Riot production team is world class, as we all know. It's the pinnacle of esports production. And the things that I learned and mastered, like, oh my God, guys, like, I was never going to learn that anywhere else. Like, it was going to be almost impossible to learn what I learned there. So there are ceilings I will break as a result of having diversity in my work life. And if I want to continue to be an analyst, and should I want to color cast again, I have to go above and beyond. And I'd already not reached my ceiling in Siege, but had gotten to a point where I was like, I feel like I can't provide more than I already am.
This is an interesting conversation in the sense, like, I know, follow me here, because I know this is coming, it's going to seem like it's coming out of left field, but there's always, every few months, it seems like there's a discussion because of a tweet or something about, hey, analyst, kill death ratio or ranking game, or casters ranking game. Can you be a caster and not be diamond, and stuff like that? And yeah. I think I'm going to give those people the benefit of the doubt that make that claim, and say this. I think that there's a large portion of the community that still looks at esports and gaming entertainment as a passion project. And it is for a lot of people. It is for me. I think it is for all of us. But, you know, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago, if you were making YouTube videos or you were streaming or whatever, you were probably just doing a hobby, and then maybe it turned into a career. If you were casting or or doing esports stuff for Siege in year 1, it was a hobby, and then you see where it went and stuff like that. And I feel like we've moved into a point with gaming and esports in general where now you're seeing true, like, it's a profession more than it's a passion project. And that that leads to discussions like we're having here, where you're making real decisions based upon the, your career and stuff like that, as well as where your passion is. And I'm not saying I'm not, I just kind of, I feel like that's a point we're arriving at in gaming and esports, and it's a bit different. I hope we never do lose that passion aspect of it. But when you start looking at professionals, and and you start looking at filling a desk with true professionals, the product you get out of that is, in my opinion, a lot more polished and cleaner and better for the viewer, in my opinion.
It's also very, very flawed, and will never come from someone with experience in any field ever if they say that the KD or the individual skill of the person sharing their view on things is important. Because you don't need to be sick to be a doctor, and you can understand physics very well even if you're out of shape, and you can tell some athlete how they can jump higher even if you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
You can understand like every aspect of a vehicle without being able to ever drive one. It is such an insane and very, very weird take that you have to be able to perform at the level of the ones you critique. No other field is that ever necessary. You don't have to be in shape to be the judge, right? Like if you're a boxing judge, you can count the punches without being a boxer.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's no place in that whole line of esport where it makes sense to have the skill of a player without being a player. Like there is not a single point. As a coach, it's not even necessary.
Yeah.
Like if your players are good enough, they're going to be able to tell you what they're capable of and what they're not, and you're going to be able to push them either way. I'd even go as far as to say you don't need to understand the game that well, unless we're saying that you as a coach are the one like forced to make strategies. If we're just talking about
that's very
the
different,
mentality of the team,
yeah,
there's nothing stopping a person who never touched Siege to come in and make a team much better than they are.
Yep.
Because hopefully the players kind of understand the game well enough to build something at least, right? And then you can find the flaws. For the commentator, it helps that they understand it. They don't need to be good at it, right? The same with the analyst. I'd say there's almost a bigger chance that if you're good enough, that you're going to come with so much bias on your view how you got good, right? And where you got to, that might not keep up over time. Then if you come in never having touched competitive.
I sort of made a reference in my video because I want to obviously tag on your point there that I hope whoever replaces me fits one of three categories. One has some kind of standing or experience in the scene already, which makes them their implementation onto the desk. No, it's not about legitimacy in any means. It's not about, being better than the person standing next to you. It was that I wanted a face on the desk that could come on there and go, I've had experience in a team environment, or maybe I've been a coach, or maybe I played as a player, for example. For Anne, for example, jumped into scrims and started playing scrims because she wanted to know what a scrim environment looked like, what it might entail. I think all of those really important experience levels could help you, and it always did when Jack and I were working together, think of anything on the fly. I think that's what made us so diverse and flexible, was that at any point Milos could throw any question at us, and we didn't need to pre-prepare those segments going into it. We could talk about it from any perspective. That's what I liked. That was my style of how the desk. Do I think that everyone needs to be that way? No. But do I think that's
the only
helpful
downside
aspect? Sure.
The only downside is that you can only ever go to your experience, right? So it always becomes, because I had the same where you can say that, well, when I played pro, but at some point people need to stop saying when I played, because we're not there. And it's always been a little bit of a gripe for me when people have to bring up when they were the competitive, because it's not about them. It's about the teams that are playing. It's good that you have the experience in the background and you can come with some oomph, but it doesn't need to be, it shouldn't be needed. You shouldn't need to tell people that you have done it, because if what you're saying carries enough value, it should be able to stand by itself. It's great to go back
Maybe I'm a
and
different viewer. I don't know, because when I watch sports, for example, coming from Australia, we watch a lot of traditional sports growing up. I loved knowing whether a footballer had, like, one of the analysts had been like a footballer and played and for which team. That was like a huge part of like sport, like analysts in sport, traditional sports. It was like, you always under their name, it would tell you what team they were from or what's their background, what's their experience. And like, I don't know if it was just like, wow, like this person had played or whatever, but it felt like a different viewing
oh
experience
no, I
as a
think it's
result.
awesome if it's being shared. I don't think it's awesome if it needs to be brought up with every explanation.
Yeah.
Like if everything you ever, because if like I've noticed it in some other games, and I'm not gonna throw anyone on the bus, but
Mhm.
if they have to say when they did it,
Mhm.
as in everything is a reference to when they competed, like you're not competing anymore. These
Mhm.
guys are, and there's a
Yep.
reason you're not competing anymore. It
Mhm.
might not be because of performance, but at least you moved somewhere else where now the focus is why are these guys doing it?
Yep.
Because otherwise it starts taking away and it starts like being some self-reinforcing thing where I know this because I've done it. I know this because I've done it. Instead of really looking at like what's happening, what's the data, like what can we see, why are they maybe doing this and why does maybe work, why does maybe not.
Mhm.
But I just think it's super important to look at the game mainly. And I think almost anyone would be able to come from the outside and dedicate a fuck ton of time, of course, like a lot of
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to sit down and watch scrims. You don't have to
Mm.
play in the scrim. You could watch
No.
people scrim with the comms.
Yep.
Ask teams, yo, can I tag on for like a week and just stay at your boot camp, right?
Mhm.
I'll keep my mouth shut and I'll just look. And then maybe ask questions every now and then. I think you can learn so much as a new, completely inexperienced Siege player, and would if you're good on camera, if you like it, if
Yeah.
you have a good like analytical mindset, because that matters a lot as well. If you're
Oh,
able to
so
find
much.
flaws in things,
Yeah.
and you're able to be unbiased against things that you favor,
Mhm.
because like we all have things we believe should be done a certain way. They just might not actually work when it happens. And then we got to be really quick at catching them, right? We've
Mm.
all done that a million times. But if you're quick at catching those, and then I think anyone can do that job to a point where we're completely satisfied. The problem is putting the time in to learn it. Because learning it without
Yeah.
having gone through it takes longer. So it's more effort. But
Which is
that's
why
why
I
if
think that
someone
some talent take cop outs with that. They go,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
reached this level.
Yeah.
In order for me to speak somewhat credibly with actual factual statements, I actually need to learn this much. And once they get to here, where it's a foundationally okay level to talk about a predominant amount of the game upon which their talent work in, which is why I will never settle in Valorant. Like I cannot tell people how much stupid Valorant I've watched. For some reason, whenever I flick on, it's like Korean Valorant, which I know is not the best Valorant to learn at the moment. There's only one team that you should really learn off of, so that's my own fault. But
What team is
the
that?
Siege, well, DRX now. They're called DRX now. They were Vision Strikers, but yeah. So now they're good, but I think that for any game, Siege is one where it is the most difficult tactical FPS in the world. Anyone who says it isn't is flat out lying. They have no idea what they're talking about. This is subjectively the most in-depth FPS that we have going around.
And messy.
And messy, like to adapt on the fly in your head to what you're seeing is incredibly difficult. So some of the best, I mean, throwback to Michael, God bless his soul. He was the best at knowing a chain of events would occur as a result of the first chain kicking off and knowing that that could lead to whatever it led to, and being able to color cast quick enough, concisely enough to be able to vocalize that before that came. Whereas a lot of casters now have to retell the story and retell the chain of events, and by that point you're in the next round. Which is why I think stopping here in your learning will limit you exponentially, because you could be here if you learned this much, and you could be telling the story before it gets there, rather than attempting to catch up once the train's already taken off from the station, if that makes sense.
But that's the thing. The second you find the people that are willing to learn more, you don't ever have to teach them anything because they'll do it themselves. Like you just need to find the right people, and they will get there, right? Instead of like, I guess a good way of putting it is like I've played one Pro League final at stage. I can't use that anymore, right? Like,
Yep.
I can't go to an event and then say, oh yeah, when I played in that game, that in the final, the meta has changed so much. It's been 6 years since that game happened, right? We had less than half of the operators, like a third of the operators at that time, I think. The maps are like, there's not a single map from back then that looks the same.
Yeah.
Not one. The entire game is different. Like, I can't use that and the experience from there to really derive anything from what's happening now. Right? Like, it shouldn't be at least not a leverage to pull against anyone else in terms of if I should talk about it with authority or if they should. Then after that, it becomes how much did you actually follow and how true have your predictions and other aspects been? Like, how often do what you say turn out to be true later down the line? If it comes to predicting maps, like what sites are going to be strong, right?
Yeah.
How are teams going to do on these maps? What operators are gonna take over? It's that understanding of the game and that prediction that starts becoming more valuable than the prior like playing experience you had.
Oh yeah.
Because at some point you just lose that sign of approval because you once did it. You just become that old person who sits there and goes, "Yeah, back in my day, I also did it."
I'm sure as an analyst, it is easy to draw back on that as like a comfort zone. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I think that it's awesome to be on this podcast with two people that have that experience. I know, Jess, do we need to wrap up here? Or are you? Okay.
She seems very absorbed in whatever video game she's playing on the PlayStation. So.
Okay.
Is she using earpods or earpods headphones? With those?
Funnily enough,
I wanted to be able to interact with my chat and stuff when the Charm announcement went live, so I backed the podcast up an hour, and as a result, we have to end it a little bit earlier than normal time. But you just let us know whenever whenever we need to wrap up. Okay.
I reckon we can push it another 15, and I'll get away with it.
All right, that sounds good to me. Sorry, I didn't mean
you
to.
You take the blame. I've met her. I'm not fighting.
I am not putting the blame on any of you guys. I can take it. Don't worry, guys.
You dangerous.
What
else do we have?
Attacker repick. I love it. I don't think we got to talk about that enough. I mean, it was announced, obviously. So since the pros have had access to the test server longer, I'm starting to hear good things come. Initially, it was a lot of concerns, and I'm sure it's not ever going to be 100%. But I've seen several tweets over the last couple of days of, at first I was skeptical of attacker repick, but I'm really liking the way that it's playing out right now, and I'm excited about it.
You want to hear this?
Yeah.
You want to hear the most, or let's just do the biggest tweets from the pros around the world about attacker repick.
Okay.
Because I love to save it. You know what I'm like? I love to see what all the opinions mingled together. Doki said, attacker repick, honestly, I thought it would be the most broken thing, and to some extent it is, but I love it, and it makes for stronger attacking lineups, can see a complete meta shift in the coming weeks. I like it. A pretty neutral stance on it.
Tally would be OP, so let's take everything with a grain of salt.
Then, everyone's favorite, or maybe not everyone's favorite, Canadian said, was pretty skeptical of attacker repick the whole way since it's been announced, but I gotta say, it does provide some fresh and exciting siege. Pretty well mirrors exactly what Doki said. Then he goes, still concerned about how strong things will be, but I guess we can cross that bridge when we get there. Very good opinion.
For a Siege Pro, that is amazing.
Okay, so two amazing tweets thus far, right? Okay, wait, we're getting there. Bosco said, yeah, attacker repick is really cool for spicing siege up. Again, mirroring opinions that we had just heard. But with how much of an advantage attacker seemingly has recently, and there needs to be a little bit of a better balance, which I agree, we've seen attacking increase, but whatever. Defense maybe needs to keep 6th pick, and maybe if a drone is destroyed in prep, the player can't repick to add the risk of, sites, ops, etc. Maybe like that. So he's provided some solutions, which I like, because a lot of pros complain without providing possible solutions. Good. Then we go downhill, which is not the person I wanted to bring up to go downhill, because I love him dearly. Lycan says, if I ever promote attacker repick, I've been kidnapped. So there are some mixed feelings. However, Thomas, who I actually think has a lot of good takes on the game specifically, not outside the game. On the game specifically, he said Coastline's actually one of my favorite maps. Obviously, this is before it got removed, or rather just after. And he goes, I think after scrimming on the test server, attack or repick on maps like Coastline is horrendous to play against when you're on the defense, which maybe goes towards the fact that attacking sided maps maybe then fell a little bit further into the attacking side, and it's made it difficult to play against if you're the defense, whatever, had to adapt more, yada yada. So those are like the big opinions that have come out from like some of the pros, and I don't know where it's going to go from there.
I will say there was an absolute gold nugget in there with, imagine if the cost of changing your operator was the drone you had.
Do you like that? Do you like
Because
that?
he
Because
said
that was suggested.
No, he said you couldn't change if your drone was shot.
Right, yes.
I would make it so you trade a drone for a repick.
That is so interesting.
It's
Because
very
I've
intricate, but yes.
Yes,
I've
that is.
always liked the idea of like, that's why I thought Lion's original nerf should be that he doesn't have drones. Intel for Intel. You want to make that choice, it's going to come at the cost of Intel. And that comes from someone that is 100% behind attacker repick. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I don't think it should be nerfed. I think the pros need to chill and accept that this is happening and it has to happen, and you can fight it as much as you want, but it's still going to happen. And then, like, we're going to give it half a year. We're going to see them spawn peak drones. Like, legitimately, they're going to pop windows on certain sites and clap drones before they move out of spawn, and Ubi are going to have to move drones into safer positions. That's legitimately going to happen at some point. There is already maps where you can kill 1 to 2 drones.
I'm so sick of getting my drone spawn peaked in Coastline, for example. I'm like, don't open the double window and do that. Don't do that.
There's so many places and so many maps where you can guarantee 1 to 2 drone kills before the round starts.
Yep.
And then they also got to drive there and get some info. They got to figure out what operators you have to make a decent choice. I think that could be very interesting. Or, well, so actually, if you just made it so when you repick, you lose that drone, we get back down to the fact that you only have 1 cam as that operator, and you start not having this advantage that we got as attackers when we were able to have 2 drones, because that changed the meta so much for structured teams. The fact that you can set up a drone in prep, move it a little bit, set up another flank drone, and then when you die, you already have half the map covered of random utility, right? That, like, straight off the bat, it didn't cost you anything. It was just place it there. If that repick cost you the drone, that would be very interesting.
I feel like there needs to be some cost to doing things in Siege. Like, the risk and reward in Siege is probably why I like it the most. You know what I mean? If I make a vertical above someone with a shotgun, I risk them shooting back. My traces are seen. It makes a noise. What is my risk and reward? I get to do the calculations in my head. This is all fun. I love it. Do I get away with it? Do I not? Do I have the sneaky power angle? Do they see me? Like, I love all of those things. And so I like that a lot of Siege came with that.
I was going to say, give it like half the secondary utility, but you can't do that because we have like a Claymore. You can't make half of that, right?
Yeah.
But I would give him 1 flash or 1 smoke instead of 2 or something when you repick. But that doesn't work because a Claymore can't be halved.
Right. I've seen, like, if it gets out of control, I've seen people say, you know, maybe you only allow like 2 people to attack or repick.
We control who?
Well,
you
can't do that in ranked.
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't work in ranked at all. But
ranked has to mirror comp.
I kind of agree. I don't want to see it deviate too much. I really don't.
Even if it doesn't, if we allow 2 in comp, that is also going to have almost the exact same impact as all 5.
Because
you would think
how many people are actually going to change their op? Even with 6-pick at the moment,
right?
People also don't use 6-pick. So if they're not even using 6-pick, what's And
also, like, this, I've had the 6-pick discussion quite a lot the last couple of days, and a lot of people are forgetting reveal doesn't exist with attack or repick. So many people are saying, oh, well, you can just pick the perfect counter. no, because right now you have a reveal and you have a 6-pick to make the perfect counter, and often that isn't being done anyway, right? So I don't think it's that fair to like, people just assume that you can always make the perfect counter. You can definitely adapt and get a better attacking lineup in almost every round. You can almost always improve your lineup. I think that's the point. Like,
Yeah.
That's what they want, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Was one of the tweets you mentioned, did it include, I saw something about maybe they'll have to buff some defenders as a result of this. I don't know if that was in one of the ones you read or not.
6-pick was one of them.
Yeah, so Bosco suggested that defense maybe gets to keep just the 6-pick, doesn't get any repick, just gets to keep their 6-pick default, and attackers
It just
get
doesn't
full
make
repick.
sense, right?
Not without a
doesn't make
reveal
sense.
phase.
That's a foolish thing because has he spent time with it? Because how are you gonna make a 6-pick?
So.
Well, so on defense, like you don't have your reveal. You pick your operators and there's no reveal.
Is he suggesting you could change during
he's
prep?
Suggesting that there is a scenario upon which between the like pick your
After
ops
the
and then go
drone
in.
round stops, you can change your defender.
No, because what if you're a Rooney, you make rotates, so you switch to someone else. That's fucked up.
Yeah, we went through that one flanked and I once. We were talking about what would happen if we could change operators, like during prep, and things got very complicated. The idea of what if you throw a C4 and despawn, and what if you made the shotgun holes and then despawn and change into someone else? You take damage from a teammate and shit. Like, there's so many things that would make that weird, right?
Yeah, no, look, I don't agree with it, but I can understand adding some kind of, and I am very against adding extra like downtime in Siege. I'm very against it after, trying to watch it more of as a fan and a viewer recently, rather than constantly having an analyst brain. I don't want there to be more additions than there already is. So I'm like about this idea, but I also, if they had to balance it, I don't think it's an awful idea that defense gets to keep their 6-pick. I don't know how to implement it, but I like the idea as its own framework.
It just wouldn't be a 6-pick anymore. Like, it would be something else. They would have a way of changing one operator. I have like one little.
Well, maybe you pick them both at
question.
the same time. Maybe you pick them both at the same time. You go, here's my front operator.
Like you can pick an alternate.
And then here's my alternate.
But when you make the choice, of which one to play, because you have to make that before the attackers phone in.
It still doesn't fix the problem. If you deploy utility, you have to be locked into that pick.
Yeah. It also doesn't give you an advantage because the attackers are going to make their choice based on what you have. So the only advantage you could have is run out, get spotted, then run back and change your operator. No one's going to waste their time.
I also wonder what the purpose is without a reveal phase. Like, that's just ringing in my brain the whole time, is that you're not going to know anything anyway.
Yeah.
So what is that value?
What do you think about if we knew what attacker's drone it was? I've always wondered that, and I've always been kind of sad that when I shoot a drone, I have no idea where it came from.
What if when you pinged it?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you shoot it, you have the little, you have a little like operator icon with a drone, like the little hologram thing.
Yes. What if?
I think that adds some value and some danger to losing a drone outside of you lost the info.
Not only that, but I could shoot Lion's drone in prep. Then I could shoot it later on in the round. His little icon comes up. I turn to my teammates and I say, the guy has no more drones.
Yep.
Like, he has no flank drones. There's no possibility for him to deploy anything. There's not going to be anything sneaky. Let's go.
If they ever end up with having some sort of drone after death, like if we ever get to the point where this becomes a thing, that would really help knowing like who's controlling what. Who's the owner of that drone? Who placed it there?
So I think
it would just be fun to see if it's the same, especially for streamers. Is it the same character that always finds you? I'd like that.
Yeah. Yep.
I think there's a lot of possibility there. I with just mentioning the downtime, did you guys notice that the ban phase got significantly shorter in the test server?
Did it? I haven't noticed, no.
Yeah.
No.
It seems to me like maybe I would say maybe a third, maybe even a little bit shorter than that. I hope I'm not hallucinating this, but it seems like what is it in ranked right now? Like is like you get like 10 or 15 seconds to ban an operator, and I think they cut like a third of it off. So that's one thing that's nice. I think that attacker repick will be great for the average ranked player. I am curious to see.
Fun.
Yeah, and
it's been so fun, especially changing my gadget. The biggest quality of life for me is that I now on Clubhouse, like has been the biggest one for me, is I need a hard bridge charge when I push CCTV. I don't need a hard bridge charge when I push downstairs because I'm 9 times out of 10 going against an Aruni. I'm like, that's what I need two separate. And that has been the biggest quality of life. And it has been opening up rounds for me and my teammates like 40-fold. That's been amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, keep an eye on the attacker win rates. Definitely.
Right.
I don't think we want to see that get too far out of control. It is a bit scary that Invite was already trending that way. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. And, I think like what I mentioned before, maybe you look at, maybe this opens the door for another drone denial operator to be introduced on defense. One that has some way of deploying drone denial in the prep phase faster and easier. I don't know. Maybe there's some.
Maybe it could be fun just to have like a year of attacker favorite siege. I've never had it.
Yeah,
you've never had it. Even with Lion, like it wasn't attacker favorite with Lion. It was still defender favorite. Yeah. Maybe just 1 year of everything is turned upside down. There's going to be some teams that are going to do awesome, and it becomes like almost a legendary thing when you win a defense round. Like, why not? Let's see. Yeah. It doesn't have to stay the same all the time. That's kind of the point of updates. If they don't change anything, you might as well stop coming with them.
That's yeah.
I mean, see what happens.
I think we always want to like think about balance in our minds, and I think someone in one of your chats, I know I got them all spread around my screen, said something very rightfully of Siege is not a symmetrical game. It's not like an arena like Halo, for example, where you need to have both sides equally balanced and you all have equal chances to win that particular match. Siege is not that, and for a very good reason, is because defense always starts with the 6th teammate. It always has time as their teammate. You don't get that as an attacker, and that instantly imbalances it. So whatever we do to push the scales on either side, I want to see players adapt. I want to see fun stuff. I want to see... That's the point of being, one of the biggest brains in Siege, and having some of the biggest brains who aren't even the most mechanically skilled become some of the most infamous players. Fabian, I love you, but you are one of them, man. You couldn't shoot always straight, but you thought about the game in a very critical way, in a very creative and innovative way. And so that's what we need. We need more of that. I'm sick of pew pew.
Agreed.
Just pew pew.
That is a good one to close on. I'm sick of pew pew.
I'm sick of just pew pew, man. Sick of it.
I want more IQ, less pew pew.
You've got the slogan there.
T-shirts coming. All right. Well, that was fun. Everybody, hope you enjoyed that episode. We like we said there, we've got a lot of good things going individually, and when you add them together, I guess that makes us the dream team. I don't know. But yeah, seriously, Jess, thanks for pointing out the charm. It's a big day for me, and I really appreciate that.
It's an exciting day, and I will be littering gifted subs like I do with all of the new streamers. It's unfortunate that yeah, guys, subscribe to Flake. Did you know that your Prime works as well? And all gifted subs will give the charm. It's amazing. No, but in all seriousness, I do it every charm season. So I'm gonna
if you don't spend baseless money on Flank's charm, he's gonna build some shitty rocket ship, and you might as well.
Yeah,
that's true. He might, go and buy. Just keep his attention in the stream. Buy charm, wear his charm on MPX, shoot him with it, jump out with it. Make sure you put all of your cameras outside when you're on his team. Whatever you need to do before the changes occur, that would be great.
All right, this episode of the Logic Bomb podcast has been brought to you by the Get Flank Charm and Twitch Prime. Now, thank you guys so much. I guess we'll try to be back next week, and we will have played the new season, hopefully. I know we said that last time, but that's the plan so far. Year 7 Siege getting ready to roll out. We're literally days away, and that's exciting. And yeah, we'll see you guys then.